Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing with the healing process. And tonight we're going to be doing identify current manifestations of hurt. I'm sorry that tonight there's not going to be, you're not going to see the presentation, but you'll follow me. So tonight we're going to do to identify how it manifests. What does it happen? What happens in our life based on the past hurt? And it could be tricky for many. I find that many people, there's two reactions. Some people say, everything is fine, I'm good. Or it can be very, very hurtful. It can be very hard. It's not easy to go back to our childhood memories and to see what comes up. And there's a reason why we don't want to go there. So there's two ways. We'll see tonight, two ways how we react to these memories. Again, some people say, I don't know what you're talking about. That's one way. The mind doesn't want to go back to those memories. And the other way is because they do know about it, but it's very hard. It's very hard to go back. So as I always mention before we start, that if you've gone through real trauma, meaning to say the heavy trauma, things that you would probably need to have somebody to sit on your side to help you, which could be therapist. Many people are in therapy for that. And to sit on a Wednesday night Zoom to listen about trauma and about neglect and whatever it was in your childhood is not always a good idea. Better to have somebody on your side and to do it slowly. But what we do over here is for people who they're okay, you know, their lives were okay, Baruch Hashem, things were okay, things were good, nothing major. But what we are identifying some things that they bring up beliefs, and it can bring up real core beliefs about ourselves, even to tell us that we're not enough, we don't deserve, all based on, you might think it's small trauma, like the small t trauma, like neglect. It's not something that you can pinpoint, but slowly you go back and you realize that, yes, there were things that were missing. So let's get started. So we've done number one, to acknowledge your inner child, which we've done some exercises to be able to connect to that inner child, to find it, to meet it, to look, what does it look like? Number two was to validate. We're not judging. If the child feels hurt, whatever the child feels, you're there to listen and be there for the child. That's it. And you're not there to parent, you're not there to fix, just to listen what comes up. Number three was to identify the form of neglect you experience. What kind of neglect was it? And it can be the style, parenting style we discussed, or it could be an adult or in school, a teacher or friends, certain types of experience that you had. Number four was to embrace those feelings, embrace the emotion, because things do come up and sometimes it's hard. And that's the reason why we try to run away from it. But to embrace it, yes, give it a name. What do I feel? Where in your body do you feel it? And continue breathing. It could be hard. You don't like the way it feels. But the only way how to heal is to identify, to see what comes up, how it feels, not running away from it. Because if we run away, that's what happens with our inner child. They're not going to want to connect anymore, like till now. If we were disconnected for many years, and that's the reason. So now that it does come up, be there, just be there. And it makes it easier just to identify the feeling, where in your body do you feel it? And continue breathing. in and out. And tonight is number 5, to identify where does it really make a difference in our adult life. You might think, okay, yes, there were things happening when I was younger, whatever it was. But, I got married, have my own kids. I'm okay. Things are okay. I'm doing good. And the truth is that it comes out in adulthood. It comes out, but not always are we aware. So if you experienced childhood trauma, it might come as a surprise that the traumatic problem you had when you were little are still present, even though you're an adult. Many people are worried that those childhood trauma will ruin your happiness, relationships, or even at work, your professional areas in life. And you don't know where to start. People don't want to go back. Why should I go back? Why should I think about it? It's just going to hurt me. I don't want to go back there. And again, this is conscious or subconscious. Not always are we aware that these things trigger us in our life. So it could be through avoidance behavior. You avoid certain situations in your life. And again, it's a coping mechanism that it works in the short term, because you don't want to go in certain places, because when you go there or you face certain things, it brings up, it triggers something inside of you. And you don't want to go there. And you're not even aware why and what it is. So again, some people are aware, some people are not aware. It can be conscious or subconscious. So an example is public speaking. If you have to speak publicly, what happens? Do you start feeling nervous? That's okay, that's normal. But sometimes it takes you even deeper. You can become very dizzy, start feeling chest pain, your heart rate goes up, you can even feel nausea. And for men that try down for the omit, sometimes that's what happens. They try once and they start feeling all of these feelings and they don't do it again. And not being aware of what it is, but that heavy feeling that comes up, that's a trigger. And you subconsciously make a decision, you're not going back there. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do it. So why should I do it? Leave me alone. And then it does work for a short term, but eventually there is something inside of you that you haven't taken care of, haven't resolved, something from the past. And in the short term, it's good, but eventually in life, it does make a difference. Sometimes you can project emotions of distrust. You don't trust other people. You're suspicious. And it's all based on something that happened when you were younger. And you have that fear of letting other people get too close to you because of something that have happened before. Somebody, a relationship didn't work out. You don't want it to happen again. So it's important to be honest when these things come up. So we can identify, because that's step number 1, just to be able to identify what are my triggers, where in life do I avoid, what do I avoid? And the question is why? What happens when I try that? And we mentioned a while back, getting out of your comfort zone. So we all have our comfort zone, where we are, what we do every day. And that's where we're comfortable. We're in our box. This is where I work. This is my family. And we don't want to do any major changes. We want to stay there. And from the outside, it looks okay. It looks good. But there could be that there is something that you would love to do. Maybe something different. It could be even a different job. Maybe you're there for, many people mention that they can be an accountant because when they were younger, this teacher told them he won't be good in numbers. So there you go. He doesn't want to go there, but maybe he'll enjoy it, or maybe the opposite. Maybe he is an accountant and he wants to go somewhere else. For some reason, he's there. And that's at work. It could be all over, wherever it is in life. To become aware of, why am I not happy where I am? What's something that I would love to do if I wouldn't be scared? If I wouldn't care what other people would say? If I would believe in myself more, what would I do? So a question that I ask many people is, if I give you the ability, the money, whatever it needs, and I tell you, you can do whatever you want. There's nobody around to tell you if you're right or wrong, and if it's something that you're ashamed. Just a second. But really, you tell yourself, I'm really happy where I am, because you don't want to rock the boat. And that's basically what we're discussing. To believe that you're capable, you could. Let's go, do something different. Get out of your comfort zone. It could be at work, go to the next level. Wherever it is, do something different. So what happens is, our human instinct is to protect ourselves. I don't want to go there. Where I am, I want to stay where I am. We protect ourselves by finding ways to cut ourselves off through, we deny that we've been hurt. I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about. So we deny it. We disassociate with the painful event, or repress the memory of trauma. We press it down as if it doesn't bother me. And the symptoms of unresolved trauma may include addictive behavior. Many people are not sure why they're addictive. It could be even to workaholic. The inability to deal with conflict when things come up, to stay relaxed and be able to take care of conflict. A lot of anxiety, which today a lot of people are on medication. A lot of confusion, depression, and a real deep belief that we don't have value. Just 1 second, please. Okay. So again, when you hear about these ideas, many people are in denial and they say everything's fine, because when we bring it up, it hurts. And others don't want to bring it up, even though they know it's there, because of the shame, of the hurt that it brings up. So what happens when our emotional health is compromised? Whether we know that we have things that were suppressed, or we're not aware. We've put it away a while ago. And you try to be strong because that's what we need, to put up a face outside, tell, people should think we're okay. We should look from the outside, everybody should think we're perfect, everything is fine, everything's good. And we really suck it up when their pain comes up. But without resolving the trauma, the wounds continue to fester. They do have control, and it really goes down to how you behave, how you take care of yourself in life, and it goes down to that belief of how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, and then it spills over to your relationships, whether it's at work or at home, and that's the reason why we're discussing these ideas, so that we can figure out that we could change. Things can become a little bit easier, a little bit better, even though we're not aware yet. Some people are aware, some people are not aware, but we think that it's not controlling us. But this is a very important idea. It could be subconscious, right? We're not even aware that what controls our life. If you have two shuls, you daven in, and one morning you get up and you decide to daven in A and not go to B. What made that decision? Sometimes it could be because you might meet somebody there. Or if you go to a simcha, you make a decision, should I go or not go? You may decide, oh no, I'm not going to go. I don't think I don't have to go. But if you sit down and really become aware of what's controlling, who made that decision? Why wouldn't you go? And you could slowly trace back to, I'm scared I'm going to meet that person I don't want to meet. Or it could be in a job. You want to ask for a raise. You want to do something, but you're scared. So you tell yourself, no, I'm good where I am. I'm fine. Really, you wake up in the morning dreading to go to the same job, doing the same thing. You want to go to the next level. But you tell yourself, I'm fine. And then what happens is you suppress, you put it away in your body, and then you're surprised that when you come home, you're not in a good mood, to say the least. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So there are different types of trauma that people go through. The big T trauma, the things that we know and you're aware of, those are easier. It can be the loss of a close one, of a parent. It could be a childhood illness. If somebody, when they're young, they were ill, they had to be in the hospital for a while. Even if they were taken care of while they were there, but you have to be aware that you're not the same. It's different. A learning disability. You weren't the best in the class. Slowly it creeps in, thinking to yourself, I'm not enough. I'm different. I'm not okay. Being in a family with many siblings, or if you're the oldest, taking care of the younger ones, missing out on those younger years of just being a child because you were the oldest and your parents expect you to take care of the younger children. You have to grow up pretty fast. So it's even if you had, you had people taking care of you. Somebody goes through a loss of a parent, chas v'shalom. Even if they were nurtured, they were taken care of. But at the end of the day, there is something there that makes a difference. And it remains. That's the kind of the feeling, whatever you tell yourself then, which when we're younger, we're not aware of. But when we get older, it does have an effect. So these are more things that we're aware of, we could remember. But then there are small things. Like we mentioned, struggling in school, dyslexia, ADHD, any other learning problem. It could be they took care of it, they gave you what you needed, but you felt different. And these things from the outside, you might think, I didn't have any major trauma. Nothing really went there, everything was fine. But if you go back and you think, how did I feel? What did I go through? You see that there was some feeling, and it can be neglect. If a parent is not available for whatever reason, and their kids or you weren't able to be seen or heard, after you tried sharing and they weren't able to listen to what you were saying, or they were saying, no, that's not how you're supposed to feel, and eventually you decide that my feelings are just not okay. So children need to be seen, heard, held, emotionally embraced, and valued. And if you were missing one of these things for whatever reason, it does make a difference. And one more thing before we go to the wheel of life, where we will stop and see where in our life where we feel compromised, is the transgenerational trauma, which lately we hear a lot about. If a parent had a traumatic childhood, and that parent, the trauma wasn't resolved, so it passes down from parent to child, from unconscious mind to unconscious mind. Could be the parents weren't aware. They haven't gone to these classes and they were not aware. All they knew is they have to continue. And in order to be able to continue, because of whatever trauma they went through, they had to be strong and not talk about it and do what they need to do and take care of their kids. They don't realize that their unconscious mind is going through some unresolved trauma and giving it over to the little child, also unconsciously. If a parent was in horrific event, it can be even of children of parents that went through the Holocaust and went through unbearable losses. They can be living in like ghost haunting situations, dreams, and whether they spoke about it or didn't speak about it, whichever way they dealt with it, but it goes over to the kids. All these sources of trauma and their effects, they live on. And they, if they're unresolved, have an effect, even though we get married, we have kids, we have a family, we go to work, and we believe that everything is okay. We're good to go. We hope for the best, but we don't realize that it makes a difference. So again, let's stop for a moment. And if anything, while I was talking came up, just be there for yourself. No judging. These are feelings that come up. We do want to be aware of it. We want to see where we feel it. We don't want to run away from it. And like we mentioned 2 weeks ago, feelings usually don't last for more than 90 seconds. But we don't like the way it feels in the beginning, the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds. So we do whatever we can to distract, but just wait it out. Continue breathing. And before you know it, you'll be able to go on. So what there is something called the wheel of life. It could be a lot of different aspects in life, but I have over here 8 different areas in your life, which it could be you don't want to go there, you don't want to think about it, it's too painful because you don't like it. And that can be a trigger, that can be something that comes up because of something that's unresolved. So it could be in your health. If you can write it down, it'll give you a number from 1 to 10. 10 is the best, it's beautiful, it's great, and 1 is poor, very weak, painful. So I'll just mention the areas, and you can think to yourself, is it 1 or a 10, or maybe a 5? It's things you want to get better. Your health, how about friends and family? Social life. Relationships with your spouse, your kids, your parents. How do you feel about these areas? How do you feel about personal growth? How do you feel about yourself growing? Your physical environment. You look around where you are. Are you happy? Something bother you? Is it a 10? Beautiful, or is it 1? Is it closer to 10? Closer to 1? Your career, your finances. If any of these areas you don't want to discuss, write it down. Just make a number next to it. And see which areas in your life are a number 10. You'll be surprised, many people can't find 10 in any area. And that takes us to the topic of perfection. To say 10, you got to be perfect for that. I'm not perfect. But even if it's a 7, see which ones are 7 and which ones are 4. And basically what we want to do is, we want this wheel to be round. If one area is 8 and the other area is a 2 or 3, so you think you're not going to look at it. For example, let's say your health is a 3. So you don't think about it. You take care of it maybe a little bit, but not much. You don't want to think about it. And then the next thing, your finances are okay, so that's an 8. So the wheel can't really turn without those bumps. So we think, I won't look at it, I'll be fine. But you don't realize that your life is very bumpy. So what we want to do is become aware of what area in our life do we feel compromised. And if we think about it, if we start talking about it, you start getting all nervous, and it brings up anxiety, maybe even anger. And that's the reason you don't want to look at it. And that is just to become aware of where our unresolved issues of the past, I don't know yet where, and you might be unconscious, just to become aware of there are stuff going on inside of us from somewhere that are not letting us just be aware, face it, and see what we can do. And many people have to put up a front. Like I said, everything is fine. And we have the perfectionists just trying to make sure everything's good, always to please others. But deep down, never feeling good enough. Why do you have to be perfect? So other people should know that you're okay. Why do you need that? Because I, deep down, feel I'm not okay. I'm not enough. And no one should find that out. So I need to perform, put up a front, make sure everybody thinks everything is fine. Or it can be the other way. You feel you're behind and you can't get ahead. You just feel like a loser. It's not working out. It's not like you're staying in bed. That's a different, if you have depression in bed, you might have to find a therapist to help you with medication, whatever it is. But you have this deep feeling that it is what it is. It is what it is. I can't change. Just let me not talk about it. And that could be coming from an unresolved something. You don't have to call it trauma. Something that gave you that belief about yourselves. So that's it for today. And next week, we're going to learn how to take steps to fill those gaps. We have to realize that today we're adults. What happened when we were younger, we're validating it. It's not like we're saying you shouldn't feel that way, but we understand it. And now as an adult, what could you do to take care of yourself and that inner child, to give yourself what you need so that whatever you felt, to take care of that hole, of that gap, and give yourself what you need. It could be you grew up in a family where there was no food, no money, and now you have it. You're okay. You're taking care of yourself, and slowly you re-educate. You're there for yourself, take care of what you need so that you don't have to run away from these feelings, run away from certain areas in your life which really would need you to be there for it. So thank you very much. That's basically for tonight. You can share in the chat. If anything came up, let me know whether it's positive or negative, because again, there's no positives and negatives. It just is. Whatever comes up, let it come up so that it can come out. The way to resolve, which we'll learn, I think, in the last step. In order to resolve these past traumas, emotions, we need to let it come up. After so many years, suppressing them down, putting them away, not looking at it because it's too painful. Slowly learn how to go back and let it come out. Let yourself feel so that you can learn how to feel the positives. You can go, just relax. There's so many things you have to take care of. That's okay. You're allowed to give yourself a little bit of time just to take it easy. I just heard a story, an older person lost his brother, and he was a workaholic, and basically went right back to work. And a few months later, started having panic attacks. I think he was in his 60s. Started having panic attacks and not knowing where it comes from. And eventually, with help, realizing that he was avoiding, and the grief, those emotions of grief, didn't let himself to to go through those feelings, understand that it's normal. And if you have to cry, yes, it is healthy. Even, in today's day, which we think strong is not to cry, but it's the opposite. You can be strong to be vulnerable and say, this is something I'm going through and it hurts, so that you can let it go. It's very hard. Again, you have to be strong for that. Hopefully we're going to become stronger and stronger so that we can become vulnerable, say certain things I just don't like in life, which is okay. And emotions come up, breathe, sit with it, breathe through it, and let it go. So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing the positives and negatives. Yes, somebody shared that people pleasing comes up a lot. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't stop from one day to the next. It's just becoming aware of the certain things that I have to do for other people, because I need things to be perfect, whether it's at work. I need my boss to think that I'm great, because otherwise I feel worthless. Or if you're busy making how much time are you putting into it? It has to be very nice. For who? What do you mean for who? For myself? No. Who are you making it nice for? Well, it can't be a shmata. Yes, I understand. But how much time are you putting in, and the anxiety? What are they going to say? What are they going to think? And all of that is what's inside of us. What do we think about ourselves? What happens if you give a can of tuna with a bottle of sparkling? Oh, you can't do that these days. You don't have to. But whatever it is, realize, why are you doing it? For who are you doing? How do you feel about yourself? And what comes up? Thank you very much for being here tonight. And we'll see you next week, Wednesday night. Have a great night and a great week.